Mr. Transformers 96 here with another review. This time I'm going to be reviewing a movie, and that movie being Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. So I basically review movies, every now and then, really just for the big, massive movies that I, collect the line for, and that I have, anticipation the entire year for. So this, of course, is no exception. I was extremely excited for this film, and I am super happy that it's finally out, and I'm very excited to talk about it. So let's get started. I do have a bit of a list as to what I'm going to do with this. So I have just, to start it off, just a few things just about the story and anything in particular that I wanted to talk about as far as the story as a whole. And then I'm going to move into characters. So if a character is involved in a certain special scene or something, that's going to be when I talk about the actual character, Darth Vader. So let's get started here. First of all, the opening. The opening of the film I thought was quite good. It doesn't start with a crawl or anything, and it just kind of goes boom, and the big loud sound happens, and you see a small ship go by a planet. It's a very interesting opening for a Star Wars movie, but I think it's pretty decent. And as far as the scene where Krennic goes to get Galen Erso and his family, I thought that was quite well done. It had a lot of tension to it, a lot of suspense. I thought the child actress playing Jin was quite good, and she did look a lot like Felicity Jones, especially her teeth. So, I thought that she did an excellent job, and I thought that entire sequence was quite cool. The one interesting thing I will talk about is Jin's mom. I don't know who she is. She obviously looks like a Jedi. I mean, she is like in full Jedi robe. So it's very strange that if she maybe is a Jedi, or my kind of theory on it is possibly she was being trained to be a Jedi as a young child, and maybe when she's like going in the cave to like find her kyber crystal to create her lightsaber, that's when Order 66 was happening, and she was able to just kind of get trapped in the cave and then kind of got out later on when all the Jedi were dead. So she has a kyber crystal, and she's kind of force sensitive, but she's never learned to quite hone her skills or anything like that. That's my personal theory on the matter. I really haven't heard anybody else talk about it, but it is very strange that she would have a kyber crystal and like have a full Jedi robe going on there. So that's an interesting thing. I'd love to hear a little bit more about what they were doing with that. Then, as the movie progressed, the beginning is quite choppy. I will say that's one thing I really dislike about the film. The first, like, maybe 20 minutes of this movie, it's like location shot of a planet, that planet's name, what it's known for, and then we go and do a very short scene at that planet, and then we go to the next one and do the same thing over and over and over. Some of these planets I don't even think need a location shot. I think that just we could understand that it's gone back to Jin, so we'll just assume that it's the same planet, things like that. But unfortunately, they put a location shot and a description on every single planet that they went to, which really made the film feel like just boom, 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 location, 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 which is a really choppy way to go. But luckily that didn't last too long, so when the movie focused up, it wasn't an issue. I'm going to talk about one of the things that I hate about this movie, and that's the squid monster thing that reads Rook's mind, or just to see if he's lying. I think that scene is kind of stupid. It's extremely cliche. I mean, we see it in just about every sci-fi movie. Just in the last couple of years, I mean, we've had Transformers and Star Trek do it. So it's a pretty cliche scene. It's not very cool, and it had no point to the plot in the slightest. That movie does not move the plot forward at all. It's like, during the reshoots or whatnot, they had already finished the CGI on it, so they were like, well, we shouldn't waste that, so they threw it in because it doesn't affect the plot at all. You take that scene out, and everything's fine, and actually it'll go smoother, because that scene is very strange. It makes Saw Gerrera look more like a villain, and it also doesn't make sense why Rook is like, he's lost his mind for just like a second, and then he kind of snaps back. It would be so much smoother had that scene not been in the movie as a whole. I cringe whenever that scene comes up. Then we have the CGI in this film. I think is just excellent in general, but for specific things, obviously this is a spoiler review. I'll have spoiler in the title, but I do want to mention it real fast here. I'm not going to hold back on anything. But as far as the CGI, we obviously have a full CGI character being Grand Admiral Tarkin, and then we also have Leia at the very end. It was extremely surprising. I was very shocked that they showed Tarkin, and not only did they just show him, but I was shocked that he was like a supporting character in the movie. You know, he didn't just have one quick shot or one back shot or anything like that. He was a full character, which was quite incredible. I think the CGI on him was pretty great. I mean, probably the best human CGI I've ever seen, I would say, and they just nailed it. They really did. It was pretty perfect. That actor has very specific features, so it was a little easier to do him, I would imagine. And then Leia at the end. A lot of people seem to be saying that the Leia one isn't good. I've seen this movie 5 times at this point, and every single time I try to watch carefully, and I think the Leia CGI is pretty great. I mean, I think it's pretty up to par with the Tarkin one, so I don't know why so many people are hating that one, but it looks good to me. So overall, I thought the CGI was great. Having a full CGI character was slightly distracting, but once you got over it with the first scene, then it just became a normal character. Lots of nostalgia in this film, which is fun. I do love that. Obviously, Blue Milk, you have the 2 people who get in a fight at the Cantina bar. What else? There's a bunch of CGI, a couple lines used, like I have a bad feeling about this, and they cut him off before he can finish it. And there's actually a lot of examples of nostalgia, which is really nice, and I do like the fact that they are including that in these new Star Wars films. That's always very good. Then we have the cinematography in this film. I do want to talk about in just like a couple scenes here. Really nicely done, especially the Vader entrance, the way that the door goes up. You see Krennic very small and slightly to the right of the screen, and then the massive silhouette of Vader. Very cool, looking wonderful, very happy about that. That was quite a stunning scene. Also, when Jin's dad dies, my favorite shot of the movie, I would say, is her crouched over him. Her hair's wetted and it's kind of being pulled down to his face. You have like 2 flames of fire to her right and then 1 flame of fire to her left. And she's a little bit more closer to the left, so that helped balance out the frame as well. Really nicely shot. I really like that as well. And then they cut to some close-ups of their faces, and then they do another wide shot where the camera is actually tilted to give a little bit more space to the left side of the screen, where we can see 2 out-of-focus stormtroopers being shot. Really nicely done. I love the way that scene was filmed. Had a lot of motion in it too, with the fire and the rain, and of course it was obviously trying to convey a lot of emotion. So I really enjoyed that scene quite a bit personally. And then just the way that the battle was shot was very nice. A lot of handheld camera and a lot of shakiness, which they didn't go overboard with it certainly, but it really did make you feel like you were in that final battle. So I really did enjoy that. The final battle as a whole, I think, is fantastic. Probably the best third act of a Star Wars film I've ever seen. Definitely the most exciting one, and it was great because it was so different. There wasn't, the lightsaber battle going on or anything like that. It was a war film, was a war ending, and I really enjoyed the way that everybody fought and how it all went down, basically. I felt like everybody played a fantastic role. And then I'm almost going to talk about the people here, but just the fact that everybody died was shocking to me. I know a lot of people are always saying, like, well, these characters aren't in, A New Hope, so they must all die. And I thought that was just stupid, because obviously, I would expect like a few of them to die, but I didn't expect the entire crew to die, just because it's easier to market it that way. For Disney, it makes it a more happy, more satisfying ending for the general audience, and it allows them to keep their options open as well if these characters actually are popular, things like that, So I really didn't expect them to die, because there was no reason for it. I mean, they didn't have to kill them, is what I'm trying to say. They could have absolutely let them live, and it would have made sense, even if they were still in the rebellion. I mean, it could have just been that they didn't cross paths with Luke, or they could have ended it with them getting out of the rebellion and, doing their duty and then going and living a life. They could have done that as well. So I was shocked that they all died, and I loved the way that they all died. I thought it was very good. Each one had a real emotional punch to it. Rook's death was a little like, I really felt bad for the guy because he wasn't like in the fight or anything, He was just doing his thing, and he just accomplished it, and he got the message out, and then somebody throws a grenade at him, So Rook's death, I really felt bad because he wasn't, like a part of that fight. But everybody else's deaths, I thought were great. Loved the way that it happened, and I thought were extremely satisfying. Especially Jin and Cassian's death on the beach when they just kind of accepted it, and you had some nice time with them, just kind of looking at each other and knowing what's going to happen and being all right with it. I actually wish that they would drag that scene out a bit more, just with a couple more face shots of them really accepting it, maybe getting some teary eyes. I think that would have been really nice. But I think that they did it very well, I must say. So Jyn Erso, now onto the characters. I thought Jyn Erso was quite good. She was basically what I expected her to be, and she nailed it. Felicity Jones is a very good actress, as showcased in like The Theory of Everything. Very excited for her new movie, When a Monster Calls, or I think it's just Monster Calls. But yeah, she's a great actress, and I think that she brought this character to life, basically to the effect that I was expecting. Then we have Saw Gerrera. Saw Gerrera I didn't like in this film. I think that his character is important to have in the story. However, I didn't like his mannerisms. I didn't like the way that he spoke, and I found him really cheesy and over the top and not good. I'm gonna just kind of chalk it up to the screenwriter there, because I do think that Forest Whitaker is a good actor. So I'm not gonna ding him on this one, but I definitely don't think that he is great. Also, there's Jyn Erso's dad, Galen Erso. His role in the movie is fantastic. I loved that now there is a reason that there is a flaw in the Death Star. I think that's great. I'm really happy about that. Mads Mikkelsen, everybody seems to like him. I'm not a huge fan of him. I feel like a lot of the way that he delivers his lines is very basic. There's not a whole lot of emotional punch to them. I noticed it in Doctor Strange as well. I'm not quite sure why everybody seems to love him, because I'm not particularly a big fan, but he was okay. Then we have K2SO. K2SO I was super excited for in this movie, and I didn't like him, actually. I really didn't. I had every reason to like him, but I feel like the humor that he brought to the table really went flat. For the most part, I really didn't see there isn't a single line of his that is really fantastic and really funny. I feel like most of the jokes are very much like reused from previous Star Wars films or just films in general. I didn't enjoy his humor, and I find that every single time I see this movie, very few people laugh in this movie. This movie has attempts at humor, but I don't think they ever really hit. I've seen this movie 5 times, and for the exception of the first showing, because that was a Thursday night IMAX showing, you have hardcore fans in there that laugh at everything. But other than that, like the next 4 showings, very few laughs in this movie. And if somebody laughs at a part, it's like one guy in the audience. So really, the humor I think falls way flat, and K2SO fell well under my expectations. Cassian Andor, he was a character that raised above my expectations. I liked him a lot, and I love his moral issues with being in the rebellion, and I really loved the dynamic that they brought to that character. That he had some nice emotional sequences, and he seemed like he meant business. He knew what to do, although he was questioning his moral ground. Basically, really liked him. Bodhi Rook, I like this character a lot too. I wasn't expecting anything from this character, so this one couldn't really disappoint me. But I liked him. I liked his high energy way of delivering lines. I think that was nice, and it was in contrast to everybody else on the team. Nobody else was like that, so I liked him, and I thought that what he did in the movie was quite good, and he had a role to play even in the final battle. Then we have Chirrut Imwe. I was very excited for this character. I'm a big fan of Donnie Yen, and I love this character in this movie. I loved what he stood for, and his connection to the Force. I loved his relationship with Baze. My only issue is I wish that there was a little bit more action sequences for him. Most of what we see in the trailer is what he does in the movie. There's not much more than that, and considering they had this martial artist expert at their disposal, I really wish that they utilized him better. But I still love the character, and was very happy for him in this movie. Baze Malbus, I liked even more than I thought I was going to. I thought that he was very nice. I expected him to be like the really like kind of angry guy, and he wasn't. You know, he was definitely he was definitely a step in the other direction as far as Chirrut with his you know, lack of force believing, basically. But I liked his character a lot, and I thought that he grew very nicely. I think that actor delivered some of his lines really nicely, especially his comic relief lines. I feel like he delivered them perfectly, and I do like his small moment with Jin when he says "Good luck, little sister." I thought that was very nice, and that was just a more clever way to convey the fact that she is now a part of a family. You know, most movies are just like they like literally say, we're family now, you know, especially like Fast and the Furious. I mean, that's their whole thing. So it's really nice to see a movie that conveyed that message, but in a more subtle and therefore a more emotional way, instead of just saying you're part of a family. You know, they actually they hinted at it, you know, instead of just telling you. So I like that a lot. Then we have Krennic. I like Krennic a lot. You know, he didn't do anything absolutely fantastic, but he was just a great Imperial officer. I really did I love his look, and I think that the Ben Mendelsohn did a great job in portraying the character, and I'm really hoping for a Hot Toys of him. Now we get to the end here, Darth Vader. Now, Darth Vader was a character I was expecting to be in this movie for 2 scenes, to have 1 scene talking with Krennic, and then to have 1 scene looking at the Death Star at the very end. That's what I expected, and that's exactly what I got until everybody dies. And then there's 1 more scene of this movie. And that's with Darth Vader going to retrieve the plans. This was incredible, and as the scene progressed, I kept thinking it was just going to cut off. You know, like when the rebels are all just kind of standing, looking into the darkness, and you heard the breathing. I was like, oh my god, that's so cool. They're going to cut it right here. And then all of a sudden, this lightsaber came on. I'm like, oh wow, they're going to cut it right here. And then they started firing, and I'm like, okay, they're going to cut it right here, like with the scream, you know. And then they just didn't. The whole scene progressed, and we had an amazing fight sequence with Darth Vader. It was one of the coolest things I maybe have ever seen on film. Just personally, it was absolutely amazing and gratifying for this huge character that is, you know, that is a staple of film in general. To see him have a sequence like this that was just terrifying and insane. It utilized all of his powers as well, and he did unique things with it. The choreography was very cool, and it was very fast moving, which is something that we really haven't seen Darth Vader do in the movies because of you know, the era that he was in. So to have like and it was almost like a horror movie in the way that it was done, with the other person not being able to open the door and banging on the glass screaming for help, with the dark lights that are lit by his red lightsaber. Really fantastic. I love when he throws the guy up on the roof and he just kind of like swings his lightsaber and cuts his stomach, and then he falls down. He also did a force choke and threw him to the wall. He deflected shots both with his lightsaber and with his hand. I mean, he did everything that you can possibly do in one little fight, which was really fantastic. It was insane, and it's definitely the coolest. I would say it's the coolest Star Wars scene I have ever seen in my life. I was blown away, and I was so shocked that they did it. I was not expecting it, so it was truly fantastic. So for me personally, I know a lot of people are like, oh, I wish there was more Vader. I expected there to be less Vader in this film than there actually was. So for me, I was one of the few people that walked out of the theater like, wow, that was more Vader than I expected, and it was much better than I expected. So I'm very pleased with how Vader was represented in this movie. So there you go. That's my review on the movie. Overall, I really enjoyed it. I think it's a great standalone story for Star Wars. It's one of the few like big blockbuster films that comes out in a year that doesn't leave it open-ended, that's not trying to set anything up. It's just trying to be its own standalone story that explains some things that have already happened in future events. So really love the movie. Think it's great. I have trouble comparing it to the other movies because it's so different, but I would say it's one of my favorite Star Wars films. Really did enjoy it. Let me know what you guys think of this movie, and thanks so much for watching.